Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. Today I'm going to be doing my 5-star review of This Golden Flame by Emily Victoria. I'm going to split this video up into 3 parts. I will have the blog post with my review of This Golden Flame linked down below. If you would rather read the review, you can go ahead and do that now. If you would like to get more information on the book, on the author, on purchase links, that kind of thing, you can go check the link after. I'm going to put timestamps in the description down below. It should break up the timeline bar, so if you want to skip around, you can. So for the first part of this video, I want to take a moment just to ramble about a few things I want to do with book content on this channel in the next couple of months. I've got some plans, and if you are willing to watch that section, I'd really like your input. The second part, I will do my spoiler-free review of This Golden Flame. It will basically be a rehash of what's in the blog post. And then part 3, click away before it. If you don't want spoilers, I'm going to give more thoughts that may get into spoiler territory. Still not going to ruin the plot for you, but may spoil some more minor things. Okay, part 1, some plans. Let me know if you want a dedicated review for The Lost Apothecary. I just finished that one. I also rated it 5 stars. It's really good. It's a historical fiction. I am planning to do a review for The Night Circus as soon as I work the audiobook for that into my schedule. I keep sending it into the deliver later holding pattern on Libby because I have other audiobooks I have to get through. But I need to give this one a proper review because I've read it like 6 times already. It's my favorite standalone. Needs a review. Let me know if you want that as soon as possible, if I should really prioritize that. Most importantly, starting in April, maybe entirely in April, maybe bleeding into May, depending on how busy my tour schedules get, I want to do a reread of all of Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea books. And if I can fit it in at the end, maybe also Gifts, because it's my favorite standalone fantasy by Le Guin. It's not related to Earthsea, but I want to reread it too. I want to do videos for those. I'll be doing blog post reviews for them, and I'll be talking about the series more in general once I get it reread again. I haven't read them since high school, so I need to reread them. I want to talk about the adaptations that have been done for them and why they're not great, but why one of them's a guilty pleasure anyway. And I guess what I'm saying is, for the videos for this channel, do you want me to go all out and have several videos about Le Guin's work and Earthsea in particular, or do you want me to condense whatever I'm putting on the blog for that into one video? Please let me know. Part 2, on with the spoiler-free review of This Golden Flame by Emily Victoria. Disclaimer, I am part of the HarperCollins Canada Influencer Program, and in particular, I do a lot of YA work with them. My contact at HarperCollins Canada, it seems to be fairly involved, if not in charge, of the Frenzy team, which is HCC's YA promotion group. And we did a preview of the winter catalog back in December as a big Zoom meeting. It was great. And this is one of the books that they talked about. I rushed off to NetGalley and Edelweiss, requested them, so I had both ebook copies. But also in that preview, we were told that we would all be receiving one physical ARC, and it would be a randomly selected book from the preview event. We couldn't possibly know what it was before it showed up. It happened to be this one. This was the one I was anticipating. It was either this or Witches Steeped in Gold, which I got approved for on Edelweiss, so I will be reading that soon. I was so excited. It published last week, Tuesday, on my birthday. Let's talk about it, shall we? So to summarize, in this world, which reminds me a lot of Earthsea, coincidentally, humanity scattered across several small islands, we have this school-type society called the Scriptorium. They do seem to be on multiple islands, and their main goal is figuring out how to reanimate all of the sleeping automatons around their world, and everything they do is in search of that goal. And on the island that our main character starts out on, Karis, she and a whole bunch of other students of the Scriptorium are basically just slaves. They have these wrist things that if they stray too far outside of where they're not supposed to be, it will activate and allow them to track them and see their every motion, see where they are. So she's understandably not happy with that, but she's following the rules because she doesn't want to be tracked. Apparently once you activate, then you're tracked forever. These kids are generally all orphans, all street rats who have been plucked out of wherever and sent off to wherever they were needed to be trained for this job. And it may be slightly different on other islands, but on the island Karis is on, they're basically just slaves. They're being sent off to where the automatons are, and they're being sent to make copies of all the runes and bring them back to the script masters so the script masters can study them. That's all they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to be learning any script work themselves, but Karis secretly has been. She always wants to get off the island because when she originally came to the island, her brother came to the island too, but he was called out of the program on this island. He didn't work out on this island. He was sent off somewhere else. Her goal is to get off the island and to find him. Very soon into this book, very quickly, in the second chapter, she discovers a smaller automaton in a cave that clearly hasn't been explored before, and his tome, his script book, and she manages to reanimate him. His name is Alex, and we get Alex's point of view in the third chapter. That's when he first appears. I believe on the blog I said second, it's third. Alex has the ability to get through any sort of lock script. So she's thinking, perfect, you can get me into the Hall of Records. I can find out exactly where my brother is, and then you can get me off the island. And he has other motivations, but he agrees. He goes with her. So they are off to find her brother. They know where he is now. They know that he's been sent to the magistrate's library. So they're going to that island. They end up getting captured by pirates. The most polite pirates I have ever read. And it turns out that the pirates are on their side. They want to see the downfall of the scriptorium. So they're more than happy to get Alex and Karis to the island where the magistrate's library would be. Automatons used to be powered by this thing called script ink, which is this magical, natural essence of the world, and older civilizations had figured out how to distill it and harness it. That's why automatons worked at some point, and they no longer work now because nobody knows how to distill script ink anymore. It's thought that the magistrate is trying to figure out how to work the scripts and the runes without scripting. That's basically why the pirates are interested in going to the island. They're trying to stop him. Alex he's experiencing a lot of culture shock, being woken up a few hundred years after he was last active, last animated, partly because the world is, culture has progressed so much. There's entire countries exist now that didn't exist before, but he's particularly irked by the fact that history remembers his father, his creator, as the villain. His father is known as the guy who shut down the automatons, and it's recorded in history as this malicious terrorist act. Alex believes that history has it wrong and that his father had pure intentions. If you want to hear me talk more about that, hang on for the spoilery section in part 3. My copy, on the back here, we've got the synopsis that's definitely going to be on the back of everybody's book. We have information about when it's publishing, what it'll cost, that kind of thing down here at the bottom, some speaking points. In the middle here, we've got 3 bullet points. I don't know if this is part of the synopsis or the speaking points. I don't know if this will be on everybody's copy. I don't know if it's going to be common knowledge for everybody going into this book that features #own voices, asexual representation, and a celebration of individual differences. I think that's something everybody should know. I think it's a great thing to celebrate about this book. There is indeed asexual representation in this book. There's also non-binary characters, there's gay relationships. There's just, the LGBTQIA community should be very happy with the fact that there's representation in this book, and none of it is a plot point. It's all just a matter of fact in this world. Nobody has a problem with it. That is great. We can assume if you know that much, that one of our two main characters is the asexual character, and we can further assume that since this is a YA title, we're probably not delving into the sexuality of robots, so it's probably not Alex, it's Karis. Can confirm, Karis is asexual. She is the asexual representation in this book. I will say, if I hadn't read that bullet point, I would not have known that about her until about 2/3 through the book. There's one character who goes with them on this adventure. His name is Dane, and it kind of seems like they're good friends. Clearly they have a friendly relationship, and clearly friends is all he is to Karis. I can't tell if Karis is his friend, if Karis is his sister from another mister, or if there's a spark there, if he's interested. He's not interested by the end of the book. He finds other objects of his affection, but in the beginning it definitely seemed like Dane was interested, and Karis just whoosh. Knowing this point on the back and making the assumptions that we do, that it's not Alex who's the ace character, we go, okay, Karis is ace. If I hadn't known that, I would have just assumed that she's not interested in Dane. It's 2/3 through the book where she actually explicitly spells it out on the page that she doesn't have sexual attraction urges at all to other people. So, on one hand, excellent, positive representation. It's not a plot point, it's not a negative thing, you don't have people fighting to be validated at all. It's just a matter of fact of life in this world. Great there. On the other hand, it's a little understated. If I hadn't read that bullet point, I wouldn't have known there was ace representation until like the last 100 pages in an almost 400-page book. The gay relationship is featured heavily later in the book. The non-binary representation is basically just a pirate introduces themselves and another person goes, "Hi, my name is such and such, her name is such and such, she's a she, I'm a they. Got a problem with that? No? Okay, moving on." That's it. So it's something that exists in this world. Everybody accepts it, it's not a big deal. Again, positive, but if you're looking for more representation than that, you're not going to find it in this one. If this becomes a series, maybe you will, not in this one. I really love how the magic works in this book. I love the idea of magic that is based on runes, and I love the fact that there is a natural magic about the world that you need to distill and harness with these runes. It reminds me a bit of alchemy. There's a lot of familiar notes about it, but it's done in a unique way. It's fresh as well. I love the world. Like I said, it feels a little bit like Earthsea. It definitely feels very Greco-Roman influenced, very ancient Rome, ancient Greece. A lot of times it gets simplified down. It could be Roman as well, but the nomenclature is Greek. And again, it's pleasantly familiar, but it's done in a fresh way. It's not just copy and paste. I do really like our characters. I love Alex in particular. The science fiction nerd in me comes out there. I love the existential struggle of a created being trying to figure out who they are, what their purpose is, and if they have a greater purpose than what they were created for. I love that struggle. You do get that with Alex in this book. Some people reviewing this book have critiqued that the characters are too flat. Some of the supporting characters are definitely flat. I wouldn't say they're all flat. I don't think Karis is flat. I don't think Alex is flat. I don't think the pirate captain is flat. There is a lot of development there. Even Rudy, who we don't even meet until more than halfway through the book, I would say has an arc in this one. I do really hope that this becomes a series. I want to know more. They have more to do, and I want to be in this world more. I want to be in this magic system more. If it ends up being a standalone, if Emily Victoria goes on to write other things and never comes back to this, that's okay. It does stand on its own. I do feel like it concluded in a satisfying way. Overall, I do sincerely rate this 5 stars. It's not the highest 5 stars. I wouldn't say it's my new favorite book or anything. It's very high on my list. I will recommend it to all lovers of YA science fiction and fantasy. I will recommend it to broader category science fiction and fantasy lovers. particularly if you like ancient Rome, ancient Greek inspired stuff, particularly if you like alchemy type stuff, particularly if you like anything involving robots. Alright, part 3, where I get into potential spoilers. So, in case anybody really wants me to get into the gay relationship, when Karis finally finds people who know her brother has been captured by the magistrate again. They have to save him. We find out that the person who last saw him is his gay lover, and she didn't know when they were separated when they were younger that he was gay. That's when she has her little internal monologue that spells out on the page that she's asexual, because she's just, I wonder, did he know then like I knew then? That kind of internal conversation. She's perfectly accepting of it. So as soon as those characters show up, you do get a strong gay relationship or representation on the page, and it's positive because it's our main character's brother and his lover. When I teased this one last week, before I got into the What Cats Do book tag, I said this title and this cover design are perfect for the book, but I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about it at all in my review because it's spoilery. I'll talk about it in this part. So, script ink, when it is distilled, it can only be held in particular containers that have been specially designed to contain script ink. Regular containers it'll just leak out and become part of the ether again. This is the mama of all script ink containers. I forget the actual name of it. Alex was created to lock or unlock this particular script ink vessel. And when his father ordered him to lock it, that's when all the automatons shut down for the last time in known history. That's when Alex ran away and shut down, and that's where history splits from what Alex thinks everything means and from what is recorded in history. This is the script ink container, and the magistrate wants it unlocked. Alex he's struggling with his identity because he doesn't know if he's just a weapon meant to destroy things, if he's just a tool meant to lock and unlock this and nothing else, or if he is a person. And some of the runes on his body have been damaged, so there's memories that he's missing. And for a lot of this book, he's going to be struggling with his identity because he doesn't have those memories. Even here, I want to say more, but I don't want to completely spoil the book. As for this golden flame, I do believe this title is appropriate because that's what the script ink looks like when it's contained. It's flaming, it's golden, it's beautiful, it's on fire. I love the fact that pretty much everybody on that pirate ship, on the pirate crew, has been wronged by the scriptorium in some way. Either they were a part of the scriptorium and they escaped after they figured out that it's not cool, or their parents were, or their village was destroyed by the scriptorium's efforts. Something along those lines. The captain, she was an assistant to the magistrate at some point, and she hated what she was being asked to do. And it's absolutely fascinating how she's taken what she knows and used it on her ship. Her ship is powered by the same sort of script magic that powers automatons, and she has script ink on her person in a very small container on her necklace. As you may have been able to tell in my review, it has 2 points of view, and only 2 points of view is Karis and Alex. I do think that's appropriate for this book. I don't think anybody else's point of view was needed. I would love to have chapters from the captain's point of view just to round out the world. I would love to get a chapter or two from Dane's point of view, partly because I want to know if he actually was attracted to Karis at some point, and partly because Karis didn't want to be in the scriptorium. She resented her position there. Dane was quite happy being a junior soldier guarding the scriptorium, and he only left because of his loyalty to Karis. I would love to have that perspective. I would love to be in the head of somebody who is completely changing their mind about the scriptorium as this adventure goes on. I hope if this series goes on that we do get those perspectives. It would be cool if this would go the way of these guys, the Savior series, and do a companion, even if it's not a full novel, even if like the next one summarizes the events of this but from some other point of view. I would really love to get Dane's struggle. I would really like to get more backstory on that captain and get her point of view. It would also be cool to get Karis's brother's point of view. He has low vision, he's visually impaired, and you find out that he's this notorious thief that everybody's talking about. It would be so cool to get his point of view, just being a blind thief. This book does leave me with some questions. Most importantly, for most of the time that Alex is reanimated, his tome, the book that command scripts are written in to control his actions, that has to be relatively near him. He can't stray too far away from it or he'll shut down. It's a book. It's made out of pages. What happens if that gets wet? Like, it doesn't seem like there are fail-safes built in to protect the book. It's not mentioned if these books are magically protected or anything like that. It would make sense if they are. That's a bit of world building I would have liked to get in this book. We do get to a point at the end where he's no longer going to need it. He's keeping it around for sentimental purposes. He doesn't plan to destroy it. I missed whatever it was that made it possible for him to not be near his tome anymore. I don't want to spoil what happens at the end, other than to say I think that he didn't need to be near it at any point in the book, but he just didn't know it. I think that that's a general rule for automatons, but the thing that's different about Alex, I think he would have been fine farther away from his tome. Like, at the end he seems to be free, and I don't know if he's free because nobody around him is going to control him again, or if because something has happened to make his tome useless. I suspect he was never actually had to be close to his tome, and he was just told that because that's how automatons work. Again, a reason why I want a sequel, why I want this to continue. Absolutely fascinating world, fascinating book, regardless of whether or not Emily Victoria ever writes more in this. I will be looking for everything else she writes. I will be picking it up. She is Canadian, yay Canada. Recommend it to all fans of science fiction and fantasy. Recommend it to all YA fantasy fans. Recommend it to all fans of alchemy type magic systems, of robots, automatons. Recommend it to anybody open to stories about LGBTQIA representation. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you again next week with a book video, and if you are here for art, see you on Wednesday. If you're looking for more to watch, I've got some suggestions up here on the left side of the screen. Don't forget to like, comment, maybe even subscribe, and if you like living life creatively, whatever that means to you, I'd love to have you along for the ride. Bye guys!